Welcome back into Strings and Stories. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are sitting here with our good old friend, Caitlin Mae. How's it going?
Hey, it's going really well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited. You were one of the many musicians we thought of when we've started conceiving the idea of Strings and Stories, because, it's like we had you on the country show, and I just felt like there was so much more to your music than just country music. Like, I feel like you kind of run in so many different genres that just getting the opportunity to sit down and talk about your music in more depth was something that I wanted to do. And I appreciate your entire team for reaching out to me to get this set up. So
No, thank you so much. I'm really excited and honored to be on the show.
yeah, for sure. Oh, so really excited. You've got a new EP that's getting ready to drop. We've kind of had you on throughout the entire release process. I think we had you on when you were getting ready to drop Seasons Change, and
Yeah,
then I we had you on for a music festival. I'm kind of lacking on the timeline of everything, but
yeah.
we've had you on throughout different phases of the release. So how's everything going for you now that you're kind of approaching the finish line for this full project?
It's going super well, and I've been doing a lot of traveling too, which has, I think, made the release process a lot different to some of my previous releases. But it's been really fun, and it's been a journey where I've been able to share it with lots of dreamers globally. And it all started, or this EP process started with the first release, which was Fiona, and that was back in January, which is crazy because it feels like a lifetime ago now. It just feels like there have been many things going on since then that make it not feel like it was this year, which
Yeah.
it was. It just blows my mind. But I'm excited that very soon, like really, really soon, the whole EP and the complete story and collection of songs will be released, and people will be able to listen to them, one after the other, and not
Hmm.
just as one song, but just as a collection, which I think is how they were meant to be heard.
Yeah.
And Fiona was the first song that I ever wrote acoustically, and I always knew that I wanted to wait for it to be a part of something bigger and not just be a single release.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think now that we kind of lay out that timeline, it's like, yeah, we had you on when Fiona, I think it had just been released, and then we brought you on and you were getting ready to release Seasons Change,
Yeah.
which is the title EP or title of the EP. Um, and so just kind of being here for this entire process has been kind of a cool thing to watch unfold and watch you release music and kind of see how you go about selecting the songs has been really cool. Um, so with how long's the full EP kind of been in the works?
Wow, I would say if we're talking about the process of writing the songs
Hmm.
too, and not just of releasing them, then I would say it's been a pretty long process because I wrote the first one, Fiona, in 2020 when we were in
Hmm.
lockdown, just after I'd picked up guitar. It was the first one that I was inspired to write. And I had been writing previously to that, but not acoustically, which really does change the whole dynamic. Um, but Fiona always felt like a song that really spoke my truth.
Hmm.
And it is a song about loneliness, but also I think it's beautiful that you can be on the other side of that and be able to look back and write a song about a time when you didn't think you'd ever find the light. So it's nice to just see that things come full circle and that you do find a way out of whatever you're going through. And I think that's important to remember. And then, not straight away, but a little further down the line, these other songs presented themselves, and Seasons Change. I felt like it was the right time to write that song. And that song, rather than just being about a feeling and an emotion, it was actually about an experience.
Hmm.
So it was specifically about somebody who used to be in my life and I thought would be in my life forever. And then one day I woke up and she wasn't anymore. So she was my best friend, and I think sometimes friendship and love gets lost along the way. But it's nice to be able to look back and reminisce on those times and not be bitter about the past because the past was beautiful.
Mhm.
Just because things go wrong doesn't mean that that person wasn't really important to you at one time.
Mhm.
So that's what inspired Seasons Change. And then Love Story Tragedy was born. And that was a song about my own personal journey of self-discovery and learning to love myself, which I know can sometimes sound a little cliche, but I think we all go on our own journeys where we learn and grow and figure out how to look at ourselves in a mirror when we're in a room completely by ourselves and like the person that we see.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really important journey to go on, and I was hoping to capture it through the lyrics in Love Story
Mm.
Tragedy, and then Curtains Closed, which will be the last song, the one that hasn't been heard yet on the EP.
Nice, nice. So one thing that I there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, but since this is the most recent thing that you brought up that love story tragedy. It was kind of about the uh loving yourself and that whole journey. Was that a journey that you found yourself going on through like the pandemic and stuff? Because when you mentioned that and I listened to the song, I definitely went through a very similar journey, especially during the pandemic, where it was like, okay, I'm here by myself. What can I do to improve myself? Wait, do I even like myself? Do I,
Yeah.
stuff of that nature. So was that something that you had experienced personally?
It was something that I'd experienced personally, but it was strange because I already felt like I'd pretty much done the soul searching by the time we went into the lockdown. So growing up, and this is kind of what my first EP was about, perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It was about my relationship with my older sister and how that was really toxic and turbulent, and it was not a positive relationship. Um, and because, and my sister's a lot older than me for anybody who doesn't know the story, and she just never liked me and never bonded with me and just was not very happy that I came along and joined the family. And she's still now like, can't you take her back? Like, is there a place you can drop her off? But and so that really made me dislike myself because I thought if a sibling who's supposed to love you
Mm-hmm.
inherently can't bring themselves to do that, then there must be something wrong with me. I must be defective, you know? So I thought that for a long time. And then eventually, when I realized nothing was going to fix the relationship that was already so badly broken, nothing I did or changed about myself was going to make her love me.
Mm-hmm.
When I realized that and came to terms with it, because it took a long time to accept, um, that was when I went on that journey and I actually removed myself from her life and just said, I think this is the end of the road for us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always think that siblings are born of blood. I think it's more than that. It's a love for somebody that is unconditional and that makes you family. And unfortunately, she never felt that way for me. And I wanted her to be able to move on too, in a way, and maybe removing myself from the situation was what might help her heal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never really have a reason, behind why she felt that way because she didn't feel comfortable sharing it, or maybe couldn't articulate what the reason was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that was when I went on that journey, and I feel like a lot of things changed for me, and my perspective changed,
Yeah.
and it changed my life subsequently. And then this EP was born, and I think it was born of that journey of just deciding that if I have to be the only one to walk this path to figure out who I am and why I'm here and how to love myself, then I'll walk it alone.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's just like having the maturity to realize, like, hey, there's a point of friction here, and it's might, yes, we're family, and I don't necessarily want to walk away, but it's better for both of us. And
Yeah.
if we come back in 10 years and it's like, oh, hey, that was silly, let's try and make this work again after you both have I don't want to say gained a different perspective, but have gone through different life experiences. Maybe the past will bring you back again and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But you were talking about perspective, and that was the album that really made me fall in love with your music, because that was right around the time as you were releasing that EP was when I was really starting to get in. I don't want to say indoctrinated, but I was getting introduced to the UK music scene, and
Yeah.
you were popping up every once in a while. And I never, I don't want to say I didn't want to have you on the podcast, but I didn't know if I was ready to have those kind of conversations yet, just for where I was at
Yeah.
personally in my life. And as I was kind of listening to your music. And then this past January, when we got introduced to each other, it's like, of course, now it's time. Like,
Yeah.
let's do
Yeah.
this. And then just kind of listening to Fiona and like all the stuff you've been releasing really recently, it's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. And also, I really do believe that more and more every day that things happen at the time that they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a rhyme and a reason for it, even when we don't completely understand it. Um, and I think that is also really important to know well, probably any industry, but definitely the music industry, because sometimes you think, I really thought this was for me,
Mm-hmm.
and then it doesn't happen. And you think, well, what am I going to do now? Like, which way do I turn? And there's actually endless opportunities and endless possibilities as an artist, and you just have to be willing to open the doors and open the windows, and not only have one small door that we don't even fit
Yeah.
through, that we want to squeeze through, and sometimes it's not meant for you, and there is a time and a place, and maybe it'll be meant for you in the future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing that we talked about before the break that really struck me was that you'd mentioned that Fiona was the first song that you wrote when you picked up the acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
You had just learned acoustic guitar and this song came out? That's kind of what happened?
Yeah.
Wow. Um, I've got so many things to say. I don't even know where to begin on this one, because it's like the guitar riff at the beginning there, that just like that really deep guitar, and it's like I would have never guessed that that was like your first song ever on the acoustic guitar, and the entire song is so powerful. It gives us like fairy tale feel, and it's just so much mature emotions going on, and like kind of this almost transformation. I, I'm guessing from like a young lady to a woman, like this transformation that you seem to go through is really cool. Is that kind of what was going on at that point, or?
So this song was kind of an accumulation of my past and wanting to put it into a song, but it to me it was going to be a really deep, probably emotional song. I know it was an emotional song to write, and I felt like it would probably be an emotional song to consume once it had been produced and released. And so I wanted to not make it such a heavy song, even though it was a heavy topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was where the fairy tale connotations came into it, because I felt that really offered the light too. So where there is darkness, there will always be light, and vice versa. So I really wanted to show those shades in Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
And because also when we go through difficult things, sometimes we think, oh, my life's a mess, and it's all going wrong. And that's not true, because there are, shades of every color in our lives too, and we don't always want to admit that there are good things going on too, just because there are some bad things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does give us perspective and teaches us that we're excited for the next big moment that is great,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe there have been some not so great moments, and that's just how I think we learn to appreciate what we have, and what we may or may not have in the future. It's good to know that life is a roller coaster and we get to be on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted Fiona to tell a part of that story.
Yeah, for sure. I completely understand. And with Fiona, it was what was the writing process like for this? Since this was kind of your first foray into like what was the writing process like for this?
So for this song, I was sat in my bedroom with my guitar
Mm,
because I guess because it was my first song that I'd written
mm,
acoustically. I wanted to kind of hide myself away a little bit, just focus on myself and the strings and the songs
yeah.
and the melody and it it really felt like it wrote itself, but
Mm,
it felt like a moment that I'll never forget. And if I ever have writer's block or just don't feel inspired, it's a moment in time that I take myself back to because that song really felt like it was just dropped from the sky
yeah.
and was supposed to be a song that I wrote. You know, it didn't feel like I had to work really hard to think about what I was writing about. It just was.
Mm,
And I think it made me fall in love with songwriting even more than I already was in love with it, if that's possible. And the song was written from start to finish, probably in 30 minutes,
mm,
with there being no lyrical tweaks at all. Um, and even the lick and everything just came together. It was just felt like it wasn't being woven by me, but it was
mhm,
being woven by somebody else, and I was watching it happen. And then 30 minutes later, I went downstairs and I said, "Guys, you need to listen to this song."
mm,
And they probably thought, oh, it's probably a cover she's been working on because that was kind of how I was honing my
mm,
skills a little bit by playing covers and I played this song and they were like, who who is that by? I
mm.
was like, it's by me. I just wrote
It's
it.
that's so funny. So this question, the answer may not be quite as exciting as I'm hoping for, but w- so the title of the EP is Seasons Change. Why did you choose Fiona to be the first kind of song out there?
I think I chose Fiona because, like I said, I always knew that that was going to be a song I released.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like there was gonna be a right time to release it, and I would know when that time was. And I didn't find out what that time was until I wrote the next 3 songs on the EP. So Fiona was written in 2020, and
Yeah.
then these other songs were written probably 2022, and I think the
Mm,
last one was written in 2023, and then recorded in
yeah.
2023, if I'm remembering rightly. It's
Yeah.
crazy because time has just been
So
disappearing
yeah,
so fast.
it's very scary.
Yeah,
Um, and
but
that's kind of what I thought it was because talking to you, you said Fiona was like has been ready to go, and I feel like Seasons Change and Love Story, Tragedy are newer songs that have kind of just recently been brought into
yeah,
your catalog. So that's kind of what I thought it was, but it does
yeah,
never hurt to ask, I
and
guess.
it wasn't until I wrote those latter songs
Mm,
that I knew this was what the project was going to be about, that
mm,
this was the project I was waiting for to be able to unleash Fiona. Um, so I'm glad that I was able to do that and those songs came into existence and it felt like Fiona was meant to be the first track on the EP. Even the first words are
mm.
riding in on a white
Yeah.
horse
There.
and I wanted it to be that this is the song that makes the statement and then the other songs tell the story.
Mm. Gotcha. That makes sense. Like just being very methodical on the song choice and like drawing that comparison of like Fiona is like the start of a book
Yeah,
almost, and that makes a lot more sense than just it was the first song that I had written.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so coming up, you said there's a fourth song that'll complete the EP. What can you tell us about this fourth song?
So even this one has a big story behind it because it's called Curtains Closed,
Mm,
and I wrote that one, and that was when I knew this is the end of the EP because the chapter is being closed. I almost felt like, and even though this EP is not about a specific person, and my first EP perspective was, I almost felt like this EP, Seasons Change, is here to finish that story and just round it off
mhm,
because it's about more than just her. It's more about a collection of things that had happened in my past and wanting to bring those to the forefront and give them the chance to be told and talked about, but then also being able to bring an end to that chapter and move on to picking up a new book and just starting a new life and experiencing new things. And I'm working on new music that will be released in the near
Mm.
future, and
Yeah.
that music is so different to what I'm releasing now. So I think it's nice to be able to have Curtains Closed be the last song on the EP that really says, listen to me because I'm the last one. I'm the last of its kind, and this story has been told.
Nice. And do you kind of like that idea of like from EP to EP? It's, I don't want to say it's a different sound, but it's like almost a different style, or it's written different. Like, do you kind of see that continuing throughout your career, or do you kind of see yourself eventually like, okay, I found something that I just kind of really resonates with who I am?
Yeah. Well, I think probably there will always be an element that changes because sometimes I think you can write in the same vein and then you
Mhm.
can get it produced in the same vein and
Mhm.
you start to stagnate and just for yourself you might
Mhm.
not feel as creative if you feel as though you're stagnating, but also probably for the listeners if they feel like, well, this song sounds the same as the last song. um but I also think that the music industry and what people enjoy consuming is so fluid. It's constantly changing. It's like a river that's ever flowing. And it's nice to almost not feel like you need to keep up with it, but to be able to move at your own pace and write from the place that you are at the time and not feel this pressure to be, what is considered cool or popular, but just to share what's in your heart. And I think that's cool.
The new EP Seasons Change coming out soon. What's the release date? Where can people find it, as it kind of comes out?
So it'll be available to download and stream and listen to across all music platforms, wherever you listen to music. And it releases on October 13th, so Friday the 13th.
Nice.
And it's available to pre-order and pre-save right now. You can pre-save via the link in my Instagram bio or shared across my Facebook, which would be the Spotify pre-save. And then the iTunes pre-order is done by actually going to the iTunes store
Mm.
itself, not Apple Music,
Yeah.
and searching for Caitlin Mae Seasons Change and hitting pre-order. And if you send in the screenshots of both your pre-orders and pre-saves, then there are two different prize draws going on that will be announced on release day. And I would
Nice.
absolutely love for you guys to enter, to pre-order and pre-save.
Awesome. Was Friday the 13th done very intentionally, or is that just kind of when it was?
So it actually was never supposed to be released in October. It
Okay.
was supposed to be released early to mid-September.
Mm.
And the timeline got pushed back a little bit. There's been a lot of stuff going on
Hmm.
recently, and also there has been new music in the works at the same time. And I don't think I realized quite how much time it would take up trying to do everything at once. And so I pushed it back to October, and October the 13th just felt like it was the right date.
Yep. It's one of my favorite days for sure. So, as so looking kind of forward as this deadline, or not deadline, but as the release date approaches and all that stuff. You mentioned that you're working on new music. How's all that kind of been going for you?
It's going really well. So all the songs on this next project, or all of these next songs that we're
Mm.
getting ready to push, have been written. So they're all written. And I will be heading into the studio in November to record them all.
Yes.
So, and this will actually be my first time recording this many songs in the space of such a short time. So
Yes.
usually I record over months,
Hmm.
and this is going to be more of a, okay, we're going to go in the studio and this is our time, like we're going to get all of these songs done in this time. And I'm actually excited for it because it means that we're going to use all of the same musicians,
Mhm.
and I think that it'll just gel really well because we'll all be on the same wavelength and we'll all be in the same creative headspace,
Yes.
being in the room working on those songs together. And I think it suddenly becomes more than just your baby, it becomes everybody's baby, and they've all put their touch on it. And I'm excited to see what magic gets created this November, and then I think I'm going to be uncontrollably excited to release them, and probably want to release them faster than I can even, trying to run
Yeah.
before I can walk.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that you kind of have to trust in yourself that you're going to release it when you should release it or supposed to release it. Um, but do you kind of see this as like a run of singles, or do you hopefully see yourself releasing like a full length album, or do you kind of like the idea of just doing EPs?
So I definitely someday want to release an album, a full length album.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that it's not the right time quite yet. And I
Hmm.
would like to release these songs as singles first and let them have, their time to be listened to and heard, and see how people react to them. And then I think they will be a part of a bigger project, just slightly further off in the future. So I think we'll probably be releasing these songs starting as early as February of next
Hmm.
year. So I'm excited that, even before this EP is released, I'm already thinking about the
Yeah.
next project and the next run of songs.
Yeah. And I think that's just where the industry is at this day and age, where it's like you don't even have the first project out, but you have to be already thinking about the next one. And
Yeah.
it's fun and exciting. And especially with as young as you are, you got 1.5 million ideas. So being able to like ex execute those ideas and find people on the same creative wavelengths to kind of help push those ideas forward and challenge them and all that stuff, that's really cool that you're in this opportunity right now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just loving everything about where I'm at right now in my
Mhm.
life and in the industry, and really feeling like I have a place in the
Mhm.
industry, because I think for a while you're trying to figure out what that place is. You know
Mhm.
you want to pursue music, and you know that this is your life and your passion, because that's usually pretty
Mhm.
obvious.
Yeah.
But actually feeling like you've finally found a place where you fit and you're secure, and you can just truly advocate for yourself
Mhm.
is really special, and I
Mhm.
think I'm there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. With all these changes kind of going on, you're releasing music and you got everything kind of changing around you. How's that challenged you as a musician? How has that challenged you to be a better musician?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that has inspired me and affected me and changed me as an artist and a songwriter and a musician would be probably related to the fact that I've been doing a lot of traveling. So the music scene wherever you go is so different, and you
Mhm.
get to see how people create
Mhm.
and how they consume, and just how things inspire them, which is always different to how things inspire you. And to see people's commitment, especially when I'm in Nashville, and you get to watch people's love grow every single day for what they do. And
Mhm.
you wouldn't think that it would grow every day, but it does. It gets larger and larger. And it's just nice that there is something other than probably what would be considered the social norm that takes
Mhm.
up people's life, and they have this goal that, is career based or is whatever it is. It's just nice that people have that belief in themselves. And a lot of people that I've met have made some sort of big move to
Mhm.
Nashville. I very rarely meet people who were born here and live here and have always lived here. It's usually
Mhm.
people who decided, I'm going to just move to Nashville and I'm going to pursue this dream. And watching them do that inspires me every day.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. It's just kind of being in a situation where you're around creative people that come from different areas and they have different experiences and you kind of find your collective tribe as a musician and are able to sit down and write music together, even though you're not from the same area, but just by pure chance or pure luck, you happen to be in the same place.
Yeah.
And then you guys go back to your respective homes, whether it's Chicago, Florida,
Yeah.
like wherever it is.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get to take a little piece of that experience and take it back home. And it's really that power of music and like what experiences that music brings that kind of helps spread the word about anything that you want it to be. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
and I think it really does change you. Every person that you meet changes a little part of you, and more often than not for the better. I
mhm,
think that is really cool that you get to meet someone and you get to take away a lesson, and I just think it's really beautiful. And having those interactions with people is incredible. And I remember my first time in Nashville, May of 2022,
mhm,
which again feels like a lifetime ago.
right.
And straight away realizing how welcoming the city is. Everybody just welcomes you in and wants you to be who you are and is there to support you and to support the person that you are. And they think it's cool if you're unique and different, not that it's strange and, oh, that's weird because they're different.
Mm,
It's more, oh my gosh, you're different. How cool is that?
yeah.
We should amplify it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Caitlin, it's been an absolute blast chatting with you. I always enjoy getting the opportunity to talk about your music and everything that you've got going on. So if anybody wants to check out your music, interact with you on social, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So you can find me across all social media platforms at Caitlin Mae Music. I also have a YouTube and a Patreon account, and those are Caitlin Mae or Caitlin Mae Music as well. You should be able to find them under both tags. And I would absolutely love for you to become a dreamer.
Nice, nice, awesome. And then just as we usually do on everything that we produce, whether it's the podcast, radio show, any of that stuff, what's a piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
I think, and I hope this doesn't sound cliche or cheesy, but first and foremost is just follow your dreams. And sometimes it feels scary, so we don't start now, and we think we'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes
Mm,
because every day we say we'll start tomorrow. And it's important to just grab those stars and chase them. Just don't let them go. And as long as you have the passion for it, then you're meant to follow it and you have a place. So don't ever forget that, and don't feel like you're not worthy, maybe because you're less experienced, because everybody was there at one point. Everybody has to learn, and to learn you have to be willing to dive in head first.